Thanks for joining again, ACT family. Today's guest is a powerhouse in the veterinary world. As Ajiona Lunsford, BS and CVT, a technician with over a decade of experience, a businesswoman, and a rising star on her path to becoming a veterinarian. Her journey reflects resilience, purpose, and a love for animals, also reveals a deeper truths about what it really takes to thrive in this profession. Let's dig in. Aziona, what inspired you to pursue veterinary medicine, and when did you first know that this was your calling?
Well, first, thank you for the intro, by the way. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
I feel like I really don't know when specifically my calling was. I just knew ever since I could remember being little, I was always had a special connection like with animals and nature. And I remember like my parents, like, that's like out of the norm. Like, no one else in my family, is like a big animal person that I know of.
yeah.
And I just remember always like bringing in like stuff from outside, like snakes, frogs, little baby rabbits and stuff. But I think maybe like a defining moment for me was when like I came home and I remember kind of telling my mom like, hey, like I don't know any vets that like look like me.
Yeah,
Everyone that I was like researching, they were especially like back then, like they were male, they were white, they weren't like, person of color like at all. And she was just like, they're out there, like you just have to research it. And then I found Tuskegee and I remember going to I think it's like Vet Step program when I
mm,
was in middle school, and I was around people that looked like me and that loved animals, had the same passion. And I think that was like a defining moment because I was like, wow, like I can really do this. Because it was kind of hard because I didn't know anyone in this field that looked like me. And then also that was a woman too. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Wow. You've worn many hats from CVT to entrepreneur to vet med student. Which role has taught you the most about yourself?
Mm, I would have to say it would be me being a CVT.
Yeah.
Definitely. I feel like this was like a pivotal moment in my career. I remember, always wanting to be a vet and then going to FAMU, and my original major was pre-vet. It was animal science. But I remember the vet tech students, they will always be at like what we call like FAMU farm. They were always like hands-on. And I remember like, dang, I really want to do that. I knew I needed the lectures and like the prereqs to get to vet school, but I really wanted to do the vet tech program. And I remember someone saying like the heart of the hospital are your techs.
Hmm.
So I kind of switched my major to vet tech, and I remember just having like a ball through undergrad. And then when I was in the field, I remember being like, wow, like, we make the hospital go around. Like, oh, yes, of course, like the doctors, like they diagnose and everything, but doctors aren't doctors without their techs.
Yeah.
So definitely probably me being a CVT and gaining like all these skills, and then my different positions where I was able to like travel and experience like different leadership in other hospitals in different states and how different teams move from GP to ER and specialty. It was
Mhm.
like very profound. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
What does your community, family upbringing, or hometown mean to you in this journey? And has it helped or challenged you?
It has definitely helped. Like my family, they're very supportive from day one. They're like, we got your back. They always pushed me to go to the next level. Like they always told me, like, don't settle for less. Like I remember being told, like, oh, I want to be a veterinarian. And then they'll say, oh, like, are you sure? Like
Hmm.
it's not a lucrative business, or it's a lot to it. And I remember that kind of like discouraging me, but like my mom and like my dad, they'll be like, don't listen to them, like do what you want to do. And I remember them telling me always like, if you do something that you love, like you'll never work a day in your life. So they
Hmm.
hard for me to just chase my dreams, my aspirations, and same thing for like my friends and like like my mentors and my partner. They're always there for me, and whenever I want to jump into something crazy, they're kind of just like, "All right, let's do
Yeah.
it."
So tell us a little bit more about your personal business. What do you do? And yeah.
Yeah, so my personal business, I have a pet care and consulting business. So really, mostly right now, it's kind of just pet sitting and providing like your basic pet care, like ear cleanings, nail trims, within my community and like medication administration.
Yeah.
And then the consulting services definitely will come a little bit later, but with that, it's kind of just like being able to provide owners like that want to get like a new pet, like what pet is best for them and their lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
and also just to help them like with like the basics, like when they get that pet, like, oh, like what should I be feeding my pet? And like
Mm-hmm.
what kind of toys and enrichment do they need? Like how should I set up my lifestyle best to
Mm-hmm.
provide for this pet?
And where can people find information about your business? If what area are you in, and things like that.
Yeah, so I'm in the Tampa Bay area in Florida. You guys can find me on Instagram. It is APCCS. And then you can also find me online too at Asiana's PCCS.com. That's my website.
Perfect.
Mhm.
We'll attach a link in the video once it comes out, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Uh, okay, jumping into some tougher questions.
Mhm.
Uh, Maybe not tougher, just more personal questions. Many people view veterinary medicine as a dream job, but what's the truth about this career that the public rarely sees?
Mm. I would have to say, especially okay, so like with vet tech like specifically, I feel like it's very, for one, it's not lucrative at all.
Yeah.
You're definitely not paid what we should be, and I know like within our industry right now, we're going back and forth like between title protection. So I feel like within that, we're not really taken seriously.
Hmm.
Um, like when I come in, I tell someone, hey, like the vet tech or veterinary technician. They're like, oh, okay, like what is that? Like where's the doctor? And I'm like, like the doctor's coming, but I'm here to like get your history, and I'm gonna be the one that's gonna be mostly like hands on, like with your pet. And I just feel like they just don't know what we do, and I feel like
Yeah.
that title protection will definitely help. And then might be an unpopular opinion, but I stand behind like the vet nurse initiative too, and I feel like that verbiage will help
Mhm.
people know what we do as well. Vet med in general, I feel like um yes, we love our puppies, we love our kittens, but I feel like it's really emotionally draining, because we do have the services where we do humane euthanasia. We have our services and everything. That's where a lot of my experience comes from, and it can be a lot where you know someone's rushing in their pet because they got like hit by a car, or they were just outside at the pool all day and they have heat stroke. And again, kind of like going into the title protection, a lot of people I feel like have a sense of entitlement with us, and they want things done when they want it done, how they want it done. And even if they don't have the funds to do it, they're like, you need to save my pet. And we're like, we can't save your pet. We still have to get paid. We still need to keep the doors open. And I find that that's really difficult, especially in our field, because we don't have, the standardized insurance like human medicine. So a lot
Yeah.
of financial costs are like upfront right in your face. So
Right.
somebody comes in and they're like, oh, just to be seen by the doctor in diagnostics, you're asking for like $800 to $1,000, overnight emergency. And
Hmm.
it can be a big hit. So I feel like definitely the emotional instability of it, the financial burden of it on compensation, and then also just having the general public take us seriously.
Yeah. 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 That's one of the initiatives of this podcast, even so, is to create a little bit more clarity on what the inner workings of the hospital, and show you guys how much we actually do.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Have you ever felt undervalued or overlooked as a technician, and how do you think the profession could better uplift CVTs?
Yeah, I definitely have felt both.
Hmm.
It's funny because I felt it internally, like within my own team, and externally with the clients slash owners.
Mm.
Internally, I have been on teams to where doctors and the management don't know how to utilize their text,
Hmm.
and I feel like that's really mostly because in certain states you don't have to be a CVT to be a veterinary technician. So a
Hmm.
lot of doctors, they don't have that trust in their technicians to get the job done and to get it done right. So
Mm.
a lot of, oh, I will just do it, and then we're getting behind because the doctor is doing a lot of the tech stuff and they're not utilizing their techs. And
Mm.
then I've had instances, because this is actually one of the initiatives of one of my past jobs, was to show doctors how to better utilize their techs. I would come in as an experienced CVT and I'm like, hey, I'm here, I can do all these things for you, and they still don't trust it and they still don't use me.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and then kind of like externally, it's the same thing. Like they come in and I'm like, okay, like I'm going to do this for your pet. Or say for instance, I'm just showing them how to give sub-Q fluids at home. Like they don't trust me. They're like, are you sure? Like they're like, oh,
Hmm.
like, the doctor can't tell me this. And I'm like, well, the doctor can, but the doctor is busy doing doctor things.
Right.
And I'm definitely capable to show you how to do sub-Q fluids.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I think that, yeah, I think those are the main
So,
things.
I mean, kind of like you kind of talking about the client experience.
Mhm.
Um, as a black woman in vet med, have you faced barriers or bias, overt or subtle? How have you handled those situations?
Yes, definitely. Well, my first position in a hospital, I was a kennel tech um, in Yorktown, Virginia. So if you don't know what Yorktown, Virginia is, it's like 10, 15 minutes from Williamsburg, Virginia. So that's where Jamestown's was, the plantations and everything. So it's
Hmm.
a very kind of like rural community,
Hmm.
where majority of the people are like white, they're older. And I was the only Black person that was working there. And I was helping the techs at that point. So I really wasn't experienced at all, but I was helping the techs, trying to gain experience because I knew this is what I wanted to do. And I remember coming in the room and they needed help like restraining this pet, and I was helping the tech do that. And it's funny, she was actually doing something. And, and then when the owner saw that I walked in and then I was touching her pet, she was just like, I would rather not that girl touch my dog. And
Wait, the owner of the hospital?
no, no, the owner
Oh,
of the pet.
okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Sorry. Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, she was like, I would rather not that girl touch my pet. And like I'm in high school, I really like I know what racism is. I just never directly experienced it like that.
Hmm.
And at first I didn't think that she was talking to me.
Hmm.
And then she said it again to the tech and she was like, that girl needs to stop touching my dog. And then she kept looking at me and I'm just like, oh, like, and I'm a people pleaser. And back then I wasn't really standing up for myself. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, like what's wrong? And she just, I think she was getting frustrated because nobody was, I guess, catching her drift. And she was just like, I don't want any Black people touching my dog. And so we were all kind of just like taken aback. And um, the tech kind of just said, okay, well, just get out the room. And I think they didn't know how to handle that situation either. And they
Wait, they
probably,
asked you to get out of the room?
yeah, they did. They did.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, I think just because of like their own biases, and they probably never had anything like that happen before. And they didn't stand up for me. So I kind of went home, like I was crying, like I was sad. I was like, I don't know what's wrong. And I just didn't really feel supported. And then even when I went back to my manager at that time and told them what happened, they kind of just gaslighted me. They're like, oh, like it didn't happen that way. And so that job was very short lived, thankfully, because I ended up going to FAMU to go to college. I didn't go back there. But yeah, that was something that was very like in your face
Yeah.
biases and racism. On the subtle part, the really thing I've only kind of experienced was, me being the only person of color working there. And I can tell like there was just differences within like the team with like microaggressions, like, oh, like, do you really know like how to do this, or questioning my experience, like, oh, like, you really didn't go to Africa and do this. And I'm like, I did, I have pictures.
Wow.
But yeah, that's really kind of like the only thing that I faced that was
Okay.
kind of just like subtle or like in your face, like,
I
bias.
mean, those are huge things, and I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that alone. And
Yeah.
it also shows your strength and resilience to keep pushing forward. Even though having such a in-your-face experience.
Definitely, definitely. It definitely pushed me more to be like, yeah, no, we got to change this.
Yeah.
We need
Yeah.
more people like us in the field for
Sure.
sure.
Yep. For sure. Wow. Let's talk about compensation. Do you
Mhm.
feel CVTs are paid what they're worth, and what would fair recognition look like to you?
No, not at all. I feel like it's definitely better now, like within like the last like what, like 3 to 5 years, it's coming up, just like the salary for doctors, vets is coming up. But I feel
Hmm.
like it's nowhere near where we should be getting paid. I feel like the increase should be whatever the average is where you are. I feel like the increase needs to be minimum starting probably between $15 to $20 more.
Hmm.
And I say that because of like everything that we do day in and day out. Like, we're not only, being like the nurse for your pet, but we're like monitoring anesthesia, we're taking x-rays, we're filling medications, we're getting history, like we're doing intake, we're doing discharges. So I would want our compensation to match everything that we handle on a day to day.
Yeah.
Um and then also kind of like in my current position, I'm currently taking appointments. I feel like on top of the increased pay, I will also like to see a type of bonus or like a production package on top of that
Hmm.
appointments that we're taking, because we are inherently helping the hospital regardless, because we're taking the healthy things and the things that take up time for the doctor to see more sick appointments and more urgent appointments. So I feel like we should be getting extra compensation on that as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a production package would definitely be warranted,
Hmm.
um, in a lot of those settings.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What's one outdated idea in veterinary culture that you think needs to go immediately?
Mm. One outdated idea that needs to go. I think the name vet tech.
Okay.
I think the name vet tech, because I feel like if we can change that, and then, okay, well, no, I take it back, because that's in conjunction with what I really want. So title protection, and when you are a vet tech, that means to get that title, that means that you have gone to school, whether it's a 2-year program or a 4-year program, and
Mhm.
you have taken your VT&E and passed it.
Mhm.
That means you're a vet tech. And
Mhm.
I think that would help out our field a lot. Um, and we have just that standardized, title protection and education backing our field. Whereas for all the states to kind of just get on the same page, kind of like with human medicine, they're
Yeah.
on the same page. For you to become a RN, you need to take your NCLEX before you can even touch a patient. I
Yeah.
feel like the same thing needs to happen in our field, because I feel like that will be connected to us being more respected and taken seriously. And then in conjunction with that, I believe that will also help with the title protection and then compensation as well. And then also for the community to understand and what we do day in and day out and just take us seriously. And then,
Mhm.
which will inherently help, I think, the pet too, because I feel like they're just going to take us serious and then start believing us on certain things, and
Yeah.
not just believing us when it's too late.
But I wanted to circle back to what you were starting with, and you started to say veterinary technician. Is it because you feel like the title is watered down, so to speak. So like we need to get rid of it and then have like veterinary nurse or something like that instead.
Yeah, I feel like it's watered down, and I feel like it's just not the right term.
Hmm.
So I can't remember the actual definition now, but when I looked up the definition of a technician, yes, that it 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 portrayed what we do as techs, but not fully. I feel like a nurse fully portrays what we do day in and day out. And
Hmm.
I feel like putting vet in front of it, it will specify, okay, we are nurses for animals. And I feel like it wouldn't take away from human nurses. It will let people know, okay, we work for animals. And I feel like it would be like, okay, their healthcare. Because sometimes I tell people I'm a vet tech and they think like, what kind of tech do you do for, you know,
Yeah.
animals? And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
like I'm kind of like a nurse for animals. And they're like, ah, I get it.
Yeah.
I feel like just changing the name, it will encompass our scope of practice and what we
Okay.
do.
Okay. Should more vet techs consider leaving corporate practices for private or mobile practice models?
So like leaving corporate to go to more private and
Hmm.
mobile.
Hmm.
I don't think so. No. Having worked in corporate and private, I see the pros and cons of both. I
Okay.
see the benefits in both. I feel like it just depends on what do you need right now for yourself and in this season of time. Um,
Mm,
I I do know like with corporate practice, it comes with like definitely like better benefits, especially depending on where you go and things like that. But I see the benefit in private practice as well. I see like the flexibility they have versus always having to answer to like a big brother or like a higher up, and then that
mhm.
takes time. Um, but no, I feel like we just have like to disperse ourselves everywhere. I
Yeah.
feel like we shouldn't leave any sector. I feel like we're needed in your corporate, we're needed in your private, we're definitely needed in mobile, we're needed in large animal, we're needed everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm. Okay. There's talk of unionizing vet techs and assistants. Do you think it's necessary?
Mm, touchy subject. I feel like yes and no.
Okay.
I feel like yes, because I definitely see the benefits of having the unions in everything. But I kind of going back to what I said, I feel like we need to start with square one. We need to make sure everyone is on the same page. We need to get that title protection. And we really need to just sit down and be like, okay, what is the scope of practice of a credentialed veterinary technician
Yeah.
versus your vet assistant? Like, I feel like we need to get our P's and Q's together before we kind of go out and we do X, Y, and Z. Because I feel like
Yeah.
you can't do anything with a dirty house. We need to clean it up first.
Hmm. Mm. Um, we're trans we're transferring to like questions more so about mental health and wellness.
Mhm.
Burnout is a quiet epidemic in veterinary medicine.
Mhm.
Loud for all the people who are in veterinary medicine, but quiet to everyone,
Mhm.
all the outsiders. What has your experience been with mental health while working in this field?
Mm. I have stories for
Okay.
days.
Okay. Yeah.
What stands out to me was definitely during time of COVID. I
Yeah.
think everyone thought when we were shut down that things would kind of like slow down and we'll kind of be like twiddling our thumbs and everything, but it picked up. And
Hmm.
around COVID was a time that I was graduating and I was working overnight ICU.
Oh,
And yeah, while I was in school full time.
oh.
So it was a lot. Like I was gaining experience, I was graduating, I was also studying for my VT&E. And
Mhm.
then even after everything started opening back up, so like that 2021, 2022 era, like I just remember finally getting, passing the VT&E, and then I'm practicing. And then on top of that, like I started my travel position. And I just remember just being mentally and emotionally drained. Because during COVID, I remember a lot of things that came in the ER, we were euthanizing because the owners just didn't have money. Like they were financially constrained, and the next best thing was to humanely euthanize or for to surrender the animal.
Yeah.
And I remember one night, and it happened a lot, but like I was in ER and we had literally like 12 euthanasias, like back to
Mm.
back, maybe like a couple breaks in between.
Mhm.
And at that facility, like we did body care. So we did like the footprint and everything. And then, we would go ahead and do the body care and for cremation.
Mhm.
And things on ER has slowed down. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and start on body care. And I just remember it just being so like a dark, it wasn't actually dark, but it was just quiet. And I was really kind of just sad because I'm just like, half of these euthanasias didn't need to happen. And it kind of hit me hard. And then in 2021, 2022, I just remember just always being tired, not mentally and emotionally available for like my friends and my family, getting up and be like, can I do this 12-hour shift? And I was really kind of being hypercritical of myself because I'm like, I'm only a couple years out of undergrad. Why am I already tired? Why am I already feeling compassion fatigue and burnout? Like I should be hitting the ground running. But that being hypercritical on top of everything that was happening, it didn't really go so well with me mentally. And I had to, take a step back from like the clinical setting. And I went into my last job, which is Vetspire, which is IT, but I was a implementer for veterinary software.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, so I kind of had to force myself to do that so I wouldn't lose myself and then the love that I had for this field.
Yeah, that was a very unique time
Hmm.
and um, sensitive time. Not only, not being able to connect with your friends and family physically, and
Hmm.
and then being really busy, and then lonely by being one of the only ones working.
Yeah, yeah.
um, what do you do to protect your peace and prevent compassion fatigue at this time in your life?
Boundaries,
Hmm.
therapy.
Yeah.
I see my therapist at least once a week, and I had to learn how to put up those boundaries. Um,
Hmm.
to not pick up those extra shifts, no matter how much my manager or like my shift lead was like, we need somebody, like this person is out, they're sick, they can't come in. And I can't pour from an empty cup. I
Hmm.
can't fully do my job from an empty cup. So I had
Yeah.
to put those boundaries up and be like, listen, I understand what you're going through, but for me to fully be here for this team and for my patients, I need to be full. And I can't be
Yeah.
full if I'm working 6 days a week, 12-hour shifts. Like that's just, it's not okay.
Yeah.
So I had to put up those boundaries. I had to pour into my self-care. Like I had to really hone in on like my hobbies and like what makes me happy. And then when I do have my time off, I'm not just doom scrolling or watching TV. Like I'm really pouring into myself to make sure like I'm rejuvenated to go back to work for my regular shifts.
Yeah. When did
Mhm.
you start your business?
I started my business, it would have been 2022.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
So that was part
Yeah.
of the rejuvenation.
Yeah, definitely.
I
Definitely.
love,
And I
I
knew
love
I
that.
needed something to supplement that income. So I was just like, let me just do this.
That speaks to your resilience and, problem solving and solution based mindset to say, okay, although I'm in this mindset, what looks like a bad time to start a business is actually a really good time to start a business, both
Exactly.
um, financially but mentally.
Right.
I,
No,
I
exactly.
celebrate you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, do you think enough? Do you think enough is being done for vet med professionals when it comes to workplace mental health support?
Mm, I feel like another fenced question. I feel like yes and no. I feel like yes because I've definitely seen a change like in the last few years. Like now I see like where they're having benefits where you can have free mental health sessions,
Hmm.
for full-time and part-time employees.
Hmm.
Um, the health insurance now incorporates, like your therapy sessions. And then I see where leadership is changing to kind of prioritize your mental health and not try to push that employee over their edge.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like no, because sometimes I feel like the compassion fatigue and the burnout comes internally from our team. I feel like there's some toxic, what's the word? Like there's just some toxic stuff that we're still doing to each other that
Hmm.
in turn is negative. Like, like especially like if you have like a very new assistant and you're
Yeah.
like shaming them for not knowing anything instead of just helping them be like, hey, how can I help you?
Right.
Um, or someone who, is crying after a euthanasia and you're kind of like, oh, like girl, you'll get used to it. Like, welcome to the club, instead of being like, how can I help you during this time? Like, what do you
Yeah.
need from me?
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like we could do better to kind of help each other with that.
Hmm.
Um, again, kind of like cleaning up house before we can go out and, try to do more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we could do a whole segment on that, but I strongly believe that there's a lot of toxicity, and I do think that mental health, the hospitals could do better in paying attention to that because one bad person can really affect a whole crew.
Yeah.
In many situations, you get that one bad person who just can't stop complaining and making people feel bad, and then they become the ringleader for all this culture of complaining and hate and
Yes.
frustration and things like that. So,
Yes. I definitely
um,
been in a lot of situations like that.
yeah,
Mhm.
but I mean, everybody, all the listeners out there, treat each other nice, especially
Mhm.
vet techs and nurses and everybody in the field. I mean, I know everybody loves a good, juicy piece of gossip, but at the
Yeah,
same time, we need to take care of each other now. So,
exactly.
yeah,
Agreed.
sorry, sorry.
No,
That,
no, no. Very, very valid and very needed.
okay, some questions on education, representation, and future goals.
Hmm.
You're pursuing veterinary school. How
Hmm.
has your journey as a CVT shaped your approach in becoming a future DVM?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like being a CVT laid the foundation. It laid the groundwork for me in this field. I'm applying to vet school next year. And I feel like compared to some of my friends that, are in vet school now or just graduated vet school, I feel like some of the skills that they're just now learning, I've already learned and mastered.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just going to just add to it. And then also, like, shout out to all doctors. You guys are awesome. But I do see a difference when I'm working with a doctor that has a tech background.
Yeah.
And I feel like, me being a CBT is kind of just laying that foundation, and then I'm just going to build from it from that. And then also, like, it's like I've been there, like, I've been through the euthanasias, I've been, in specialty and in ER and GP. So I kind of feel like I already know what I kind of want to go into, but I know like
Okay.
that can change probably like a couple years into vet school. But I feel like it's
Yeah.
given me, the ability to really figure out what I want to do so I can kind of tailor my vet school years to that to learn more about it, and just build on those skills.
So, what specialty?
So I'm looking either to be a criticalist or internal medicine.
All right, go ahead. Manifest that.
Yes, trying to.
There are still few black veterinarians in the US. What message do you have for young people of color interested in the field?
Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. Like you got it. Even if you don't see us, we're out there.
Yep.
And then just search for us. Like I know now we're becoming more vocal and more like, on the forefront because we want more, brown people to say, hey, like you look like me, you love animals, like, I can do this. Cause I know a lot like in our culture, having pets and being around animals is kind of like frowned upon, but we're out there and, ask us questions.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure a lot of us, we would love to have a mentee and be mentors, so
Yeah.
just shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot. I mean, go
Mhm.
find Ajiona on Instagram. Come find me
Yes.
on Instagram. We're more than happy, and we're here to uplift those voices so that there is more representation.
100%. We're here for you guys.
That's right. Speaking of that, there are still few black veterinarians in the U.S. What message do you have for young people of color? Oh, I'm sorry. If you could redesign vet med education from the ground up, what would you change?
Mm. I think I would change to have like more practical experience.
Hmm.
I mean, because like we definitely need like, like the lectures and to get like, the book work in, but I feel like more practical experience would help. I see like a lot of like new grads come out and, they don't know how to do certain things that I feel like a new grad should at least have had one or two times of experiencing it other than just shadowing. So I feel like, other than like your spays and neuters, like maybe like, a lac repair or
Okay.
mass removal and things like that, I think that would help out a whole lot. Um, and then more education on diversity, inclusion, and equity. And then I know that this is kind of new too, but being able to have those conversations with those owners, especially in this economy where they are financially constrained and trying to meet them where they're at to give better care to the pet. Because, yes, let's go ahead and give them the gold standard estimate. But if they are already coming in saying, I only have $1,000, like, how do I fix this? Like, let's be like, okay, cool. So thank you for telling me that. Let's go ahead and change this up. This is what I would recommend at minimum. And then trying to work with them because at the end of the day, like we want their pet to be better. And I know we've all been there where we haven't been, as financially stable. So we just need to, look at it in their shoes and know that they just want to provide for their fur baby. So let's help them do that.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. I could not agree more.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could not agree
A hot
more.
topic right now.
Yeah, I mean, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
We're here.
Right. Um, Last set of questions. Legacy and impact.
Mhm.
What do you want your legacy to be in this field?
Mm. Breaking ceilings.
Mm,
Breaking ceilings and striving to do the best amidst everyone saying that you're not going to be able to do that or you won't have fun or won't be lucrative. Like just everyone telling me no and I'm saying yes and then I thrived.
yeah,
Like I want
yeah,
to show people that you can do it.
right.
Like one of the main things is like I want to own my own hospital. A lot of people are telling me don't do that. But it's funny that a lot of like the business people in our field are like this is the time to do it. And I want to show people, like, you can be a woman of color, be in this field, thrive in the field, and you can do what you want. Like, if you want to, become board certified, do it. If you want to own your own hospital, do it. Do you want to be able to thrive within this field, but also have enough to pour into yourself and have time with your family, travel, and be able to indulge in, like your hobbies and stuff? You can do it. So
Yeah.
definitely want to leave that behind and that impact, and just show those coming after me that it can be done.
If you had the mic at a national vet med conference, what would be your keynote message?
My keynote message would be, face it head on and show them who you are.
Mm,
Yeah, I think it
mm,
speaks to like resilience and kind of like what I said, everyone telling you that you can't do something.
mhm,
you know, yeah, it might be hard. So like face it head on and then show them who you are. Show them where you come from. I'm pretty sure it's, someone in your family or your friends or your mentors that have broken ceilings and that are mentoring you, or that you look up to, channel them and show them, like the stock that you come from.
mm.
And, you know, just say, hey,
Yep.
I did it.
Yep. Really quick, one of the things that I think is amazing and that I've noticed is I really think Tuskegee does a good job at
Mhm.
what they do at education. There's so many successful people of color coming out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, definitely. Like most of the most of the people that I follow that are people of color that are veterinarians, they come from Tuskegee.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah.
I have a couple of them on this podcast actually. Yeah.
Yes, I just watched your segment with Dr. Owens, and I
Oh
love,
yeah,
he's awesome. Like I've been following him for years.
yeah, yeah. That was a great one. He does such a good job. Shout out
Yes,
Dr. Owens.
right.
Enjoyable. Shout out Enjoyable.
Right.
Yep.
Enjoyable. And then two for two.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
two by two.
see, I wasn't even gonna say it because I didn't have it all together. So I didn't want to do them like that.
I want to just know that we tried.
Yeah. Uh, last question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, and what will success look like to you, not the industry?
Mm. In 5 years, I see myself hopefully graduating from vet school. And then success to me will look like, I know you said not the industry, but it's kind of tied to the industry.
Okay.
But like, whew, like I did it, because this has been the ultimate goal for years. And with me wanting to become board certified, I know there's a lot of steps after graduating vet school, but I think that major milestone and being able to reach it is going to be a relief to me. And hopefully after that, it's just going to be not a cakewalk, but it's just going to boost my confidence in like, you got this, like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Thank you for sharing your heart and vision. You've given us more than just insight, you've given us inspiration. Your future in this profession is bright, and we're lucky to witness the rise.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
allowing me to like
Yeah.
speak on this.
Yeah, I really value it. Was a great conversation. You have so many good points. I am going to definitely be following and championing your journey. Um, I will be a promoter of you in any way that I can. I'm going to take this and then we're going to get chop it up into segments and then we'll let the fans know when the release will come out fully. And I'm so thankful to have met you.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you so much. My heart is filled.
Good. good. I mean, we've done our job then.
Right, exactly.
Right. Well, hang on. I'm gonna just do the exit and let the people go, and then we'll finish up.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Hang tight. Everybody, this is Ryan from Athletic Conceptual Training. This has been another wonderful interview. A lot of topics to pay attention to. Tuskegee, thank you for all the work that you're doing. This show really supports that school and the movement. Um, all sponsors, pay attention. We've got something unique here, blending athletics and veterinary profession. So please support the journey. Everybody like, subscribe. Instagram, go get yourself a subscription. Only 99 cents for a short time, and also subscribers on YouTube. So go ahead and check us out and support this so that we can continue to bring awareness to all these accomplished individuals, and let's continue to keep the conversation going for vet med professionals.
Yes.